Oh, how they love the sound of your voice, as long as it didn't say too much. Welcome back, beautiful ones. This is Venus Through the Houses, and today we enter the house of voice, the house of communication, the house of thought, learning, and language. This is the third house. If Venus lives here in your natal chart, if this symbol right here in this house in your natal chart, I'm talking to you. Or if she's moving through this house by transit, you are here, beautiful ones, to claim and reclaim the magnetic truth of your voice. But let's be honest, you may have learned early on that your voice only had value when it was pleasing, when it made others comfortable, when it didn't stir the waters or name the truth too boldly. And so begins the ache, when language becomes a tool to please rather than a portal to connect. Now, if this is your first episode, I invite you to begin uh, with episode 1, okay? And I'm going to leave that up here. Where this episode 1 is where we uncovered the deep truth about Venus, not as a planet of prettiness, but as a field of magnetism and receptivity. Okay? Because this series isn't about performing the right Venus, it's about reclaiming her. And in the third house, that reclamation starts with your words, the words you were taught to speak, the ones you swallowed, and the ones you're now ready to set free. All right, beautiful ones, you ready to talk about this beauty wound? When your voice became a performance. Now, Venus in the third house is often praised as a gift. You're so articulate. You speak so beautifully. You have such a calming presence. You're so easy to talk to. But underneath that praise lives a wound. Because Venus in the third house doesn't just make your words magnetic, it often makes them performative. This is the house of early education. This is where we learn. This is actually where we learn to learn, if that makes sense. This is the house of your siblings, of your peer environments, and how we learn to speak our world into being. Okay, this is a very powerful house. We just don't realize that. I don't think a lot of astrologers talk about how powerful this house is. And for those with Venus here, the early message often sounded like this: be polite. Don't say that, it's too much. Use your words wisely. How many of you have heard that? Be nice. How many of you have heard that? So what did you do? You did. You became the good communicator, the gentle one, the smooth talker, the peacekeeper. You learned how to say what they wanted to hear, even if it meant abandoning your truth. The beauty wound in the third house sounds like, if I speak too boldly, I'll be rejected. It also can sound like, if I say what I really think, they won't love me. Or it could sound like, if I don't sound nice, I'll lose the connection. And so you start editing yourself mid-sentence. You soften the edge of your opinion. You pad your honesty with apology. You keep your words beautiful, even when they should be brave. This can show up as people-pleasing through conversation, feeling anxious before sharing your real thoughts. How many of you guys, let me know in the comments, somebody will ask you a question and you just have to like really pause before you say it, right? That's you editing. And I don't even think that some of you realize that you're doing it. Okay? It can also show up as avoiding confrontation at the cost of authenticity. How many of you do that? Or being everyone's safe space, but feeling unseen yourself, right? Holding your truth until it withers from silence. I'm sure a lot of you experienced that. Venus in the third house becomes the velvet rope around your voice. Soft, beautiful, binding. You say just enough to be accepted, but not enough to be known. And over time, this creates a split between your intellect and your intuition. It also creates a split between your truth and your tone. It also creates a split between your inner knowing and your outer narration. But here's the deeper truth. Venus in the third house, it wasn't placed here to make you sound soft. She's here to help you speak what is sacred. So let's talk about being articulate, but not authentic. Because this is the third house distortion. Okay. There's a distortion in here, and that's it. Now, with Venus in the third house, your words may have always been praised, but your truth, that wasn't always welcomed. So you learned how to speak with grace and fluency and even charm. But did you ever feel safe to speak what was raw, what was inconvenient, what might shake the room? This is the distortion of the third house Venus. The belief that being articulate is more valuable than being authentic. So, what do? You develop a communication style that's soothing, that's palatable, and maybe even poetic. But underneath the polish, there's a pressure. Don't say the wrong thing. Don't ruin the mood. Don't speak unless it makes others feel good. And so over time, you begin to narrate rather than feel. You can begin to perform clarity rather than live complexity. You can also begin to choose words that protect others instead of expressing yourself. You might be the one who mediates family conflict with soft words, but never shares your own wound. You might also be the person who offers advice to friends, but swallows your own grief. You could also be the one who writes or speaks so beautifully, but never says what you really want to. And the world rewards you for it. Right here's the distortion. The world rewards you for it. So you're so easy to talk to. You always know what to say. You're so calming. But inside of you aches. And you wonder, do they love me or do they love the way that I sound? Or you could wonder, what would happen if I spoke without editing? That's a scary feeling, isn't it? Or can I be honest and still be loved? Because here's the painful truth. You can be heard by everyone and still understood by no one. I'm going to say that again. This is how important this is for you. You can be heard by everyone and still understood by no one. We are seeing that in social media all the time, right? So Venus in the third house creates a voice that magnetizes others, but often struggles to meet itself. So let me give you a metaphor to sort of bring this in and help you understand better, maybe from a different perspective so that you get it and we can move through this wound, okay? So imagine your voice as a chandelier. It's sparkling, it's elegant, it's admired. Everyone wants to stand beneath it to feel the glow of your grace. But beneath that chandelier is a cave, a deeper place within you where unspoken truths echo in silence, where the parts of you that don't sound nice, the messy, the raw, the raging parts, have been exiled. And the longer you stay only in the chandelier, the more disconnected you become from the cave. But Venus, right here, Venus didn't come here to live on the ceiling. She came to bring beauty into the cave, to weave love into truth, to create words that don't just sound good, but feel real. Okay. So if you've never seen me before, this is where I differ from everyone else. I'm going to give you some practices, some tools with all my videos to help you through this, whatever we're talking about. Okay. So you can call it rituals, you can call it steps to take, you can call it practices, call it what you want, whatever your belief system is. Okay. So try this practice in a safe, private space. Okay. Ideally, I love doing the mirror work. It really helps us, all of us. So, ideally in the mirror or with like a voice note, right, on your phone. And I want you to close your eyes. Place your hands on your throat, one on your throat and one on your heart. And I want you to breathe deeply, okay? And as you're breathing deeply, I want you to feel the tension that may live there, okay? All right. Then I want you to say out loud, unfiltered and uninterrupted. Okay. You're by yourself. You're safe. Okay. But what I want you to say is what I really want to say is, and then I want you to unfiltered and uninterrupted, just say it out loud. Okay. And then I want you to also say, if I didn't have to sound nice, I'd say, and then say it. And I'm telling you, just say it. Don't try to filter it. Don't try to edit it. I just want you to say it. You might shock yourself, but say it. It's a good practice for you. Okay. And number 3, I want you to say, if I trusted I'd still be loved, I would admit, and then I want you to say it. Okay. Let the words come. Ramble, rage, whisper, cry. Don't rehearse it. Okay. Don't try to fix it and do not edit it. Just say it. Okay. And when you're finished, I want you to place both hands over your heart and say, my truth is worthy of breath. I don't need to sound perfect to be heard. My voice is not decoration. It is devotion. Okay. Now, what this ritual is doing or the steps to take, this is what it's teaching the nervous system that truth is safe. Okay. So you have to practice in that. And you can practice in a safe space. So even when your voice is shaking, even when it's not pretty, even when it's finally real. Okay. And do this practice as many times as you need to. Okay. All right. So let's reclaim your voice as a portal and not a plea. Okay. Let's talk about that now. So there's a moment in the Venus in the third journey when everything shifts. It's the moment you stop asking, how can I sound more acceptable? It's that moment when you stop asking, how can I sound more acceptable? And start asking, what do I need to say that's real? Because when Venus is wounded here, your Venus is wounded here if you're doing this. Your voice becomes a plea. Please hear me. Please approve of me. Please don't leave if I speak my truth. But when you're talking about a healed Venus, your voice becomes a portal to connection, to clarity, to resonance, to freedom. You stop using charm to soften your truth. You stop cushioning honesty with over explanation. You stop worrying if your words are too bold, too raw, too real. And instead, you begin to speak beauty into being. Venus in the third house doesn't mean that you have to speak sweetly. That's not what Venus in the third house is. It means you can speak sacredly. So, let me give you some examples of what that could look like. Your voice slows down, not to perform calm, but to feel what you're saying. Have you ever done that? Have you felt what you're saying? Okay, that's a healed Venus. Venus is magnetic, remember. Okay? It could also look like you say, I don't know yet, instead of performing clarity. Instead of trying to say why you don't or give an excuse about it, you just say, I don't know yet. And you stand in that because you don't know. Not everybody knows everything, right? It's the honest truth. But that's a healed Venus that knows her clarity, right? And this is instead of performing clarity and try to overcompensate, say too many words and try to make it soft, right? It can also look like you let silence be a part of the conversation and not something to fill. You don't have to fill the deadened space. You don't. Let the energy move back and forth when you're having a conversation. It can also look like you use language as devotion, not manipulation. You realize you are not responsible. This is the healed Venus. You'll realize you're not responsible for how others receive your truth. You're not. You'll also realize you are responsible for letting it be spoken. That's what your responsibility is. And that healed Venus, that's when Venus starts to radiate again. When she feels like she doesn't have to be edited. When she feels like she can say and still have and understand her magnetism and the connections that you will have, right? And when Venus starts to radiate again, not from charm, but from coherence, that's what will happen. Now, let me give you some real world examples, right? Imagine a woman who's always been the communicator, right? She speaks kindly, never raises her voice, always knows what to say. But one day something shifts. She's sitting across from someone she loves, and instead of smoothing things over, she says clearly and calmly, that hurt me. I'm not okay with that. This is what I need. No smile, no sugarcoat, no performance. Just truth, spoken with a steady voice and an open heart. And in that moment, she doesn't lose the connection. She deepens it. Because when your words come from the body, from your truth, from alignment, they don't fracture love. They fuse it to what's real. Now, let me give you a practice, a somatic practice for you to really bring this into your body and help your body accept this and work with you, okay? So, before you speak today, whether it's a text or a post or a conversation, I want you to pause and ask, am I saying this to be accepted or to be true? Is this my voice or a version I hope they'll like more? Does this feel rooted in my body or rehearsed in my mind? And then I now place your hand over your hand over your throat. Breathe deeply and repeat aloud. My voice is safe in my body. My words don't need to be perfect. They need to be real. I speak not to perform, but to connect. Let your voice drop an octave into your belly. Okay? Feel the weight of your own truth land in your chest, not just in your throat. Okay? This is what I mean. This is what I mean when I mean we're going to reclaim your voice as a portal, not a performance, not a plea, but a sacred, resonant truth teller. Okay? You guys hear me all the time. I mess up all the time on words. It doesn't make me any less. I'm saying what I'm confident in what I'm saying, right? That doesn't mean I'm not going to mess up my words, right? That's what you need to have. That's your voice, your portal, not a performance, but a portal, okay? So I want you to practice this as many times. You need to feel your voice, your vibration. You need to feel your vibration in your body as you say these things, not as a performance, but as your truth. Okay. So let's talk about what happens when Venus is aligned, right? And it's love as language, right? So when Venus is aligned in the third house, not only healed, but she's aligned with the third house, okay? Something beautiful happens. Love becomes a language, not performance, not perfection, and not polite silence, but language that's rooted, that's resonant, that's alive. Venus here becomes the ability to turn words into balm, but not at the cost of your boundaries. You speak with softness because you've done the work to feel safe in your truth. You use beauty not as bait, but as blessing. Your voice doesn't bend to be loved. Your voice is the love. You guys can hear that resonance in me. My voice is the love that I give to each and every one of you. Because why? I've done the work, right? I feel safe in my truth. This is what I want for you. And this is what aligned Venus in the third house looks like. You speak your needs before resentment builds, because it will build if you do not speak your needs. An aligned Venus in the third house looks like you share affection freely, but not to fix, only to connect. It also feels like and looks like you name your truth, even when it trembles. It also looks like you let silence hold meaning, not discomfort. It also looks like you use language to liberate, not manipulate. And you start to realize something sacred when all this is happening. That your voice is a love language. It's not about always knowing the right words. It's about letting the words be real, even when they're messy. Okay, for those of us who love rituals or steps to take or practices, let me give you one for this, okay? So you're going to need a candle or incense, a journal, and a quiet space where you can speak aloud, okay? Then I want you to light your candle, close your eyes, and I want you to ask, what truth have I been afraid to speak? And then see what comes up, okay? And then I want you to ask, what would I say if I trusted love wouldn't leave? And I want you to like see what comes up and say it, okay? So I want you to let the words rise. And then as they rise, I want you to say them to the candle, okay? You're going to use the candle as a witness, okay? It's energy that your vibration is saying. Don't write it yet. I want you to let that statement, that answer, whatever comes up within you, let it move through your voice. Okay? I want you to really feel it, hear it, right? As you're telling it to the candle, because the candle is the witness. All right? Now, to anchor this, I want you to write 3 of these phrases, okay? I want you to say, my voice carries beauty and boundary. And then write, I am allowed to speak the truth and still be loved. And number 3, when I speak from wholeness, my words become a blessing. Now, let this ritual remind your nervous system, okay, that your voice is not too much. Your truth is not too sharp. And you need to remind your nervous system also that you are allowed to speak what matters and still be held and loved. Okay? So let me give you this real life embodiment, right? Um, Imagine someone who speaks with presence, not loudly, not perfectly, but clearly. You ask them how they feel, and they pause. Not to find the right answer, though. That's not what they're doing when they pause. It's to feel the real one. You've met those people, right? When you can see when they speak, they felt what they spoke, right? That's what I'm talking about, right? When they speak, people listen, not because they're persuasive, but because they're present. They say no without any explanation. They say, I love you without fear. They use words like spells, not scripts, right? And they don't need to be understood by everyone because they're finally understood by themselves. Okay? That is Venus in the third house healed. Not just articulate, but authentic. That's when the distortion is gone. Not just expressive, but embodied. Someone who really means what they say. And the person who speaks that way, she's not out there. She's already in you. He's not out there. He's already in you, waiting for your permission to rise. That's all. She's waiting. He's waiting for your permission to rise. All right, beautiful ones. Let me leave you with this. You are allowed to speak beauty into being. You have Venus in the third house. You can speak beauty into being. You were never meant to be quiet or be a quiet decoration in someone else's story. That's not what you're here for. You were never meant to rehearse your truth to keep their comfort intact. You were never meant to choose politeness over presence. That's not what you were meant for. Your voice was never too much. Your truth, it was never too loud. Your words were never a weapon. Only the world's fear of their power made it so. Because Venus in the third house doesn't ask you to speak perfectly. She asks you to speak authentically. To let beauty and truth live in the same sentence. To let resonance replace rehearsal. To let your voice become a mirror for what matters most. You don't have to earn love with politeness. You don't. You don't have to barter safety with silence. You don't. You don't even have to translate your truth into something softer just to be kept. You're not a narrator, you're a portal. And the moment, I'm telling you, the moment you stop curating your voice to please others, you will start creating a new reality with your words. Your words. That's powerful. A reality where boundaries don't break the bond, they strengthen it. A reality where love isn't quiet submission, it's courage expression. A reality where your voice doesn't beg to be heard, it creates belonging. So, my beautiful ones, if any of this landed in your body, if you feel the ache of swallowed words and the rising power of reclaiming your voice, then this isn't just a Venus placement. It's a frequency you're remembering and a story you're rewriting, because you're not just here to speak. You're here to speak beauty into being. Don't forget to explore the soul's path, where we talk about the North Node, to understand your karmic direction that your soul came here to express. Okay? And I just finished the Pluto through the houses. That series took me two and something years, and I just finished it a couple weeks ago. Don't forget to watch that. That's where we learn how to transmute the shadows in our chart. And then I'm doing something nobody else is doing in Sacred Sync. I'm taking tarot and we are doing identity shift, because that is how we're going to manifest who we are and what and be our authentic selves. Okay? That's on Tuesdays. Um and return next Friday for episode 5. Venus in the 4th house. When home wasn't safe. So you became the safe place. And remember, you're not just here learning astrology. That's not what we do here. What you're doing, what we're all doing, is remembering who we are.